Hello, and welcome back to Getting Gamers, your guide to understanding the gamers in your life. I am your host, Juke, and I am sick. I thought about postponing recording the episodes until after I was sick, but I have been procrastinating working on this podcast for long enough because, as you might have seen, season 1 of Getting Gamers was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even more if we're talking about the release date. And yes, my life has changed a lot during that time, but I've always kept the podcast in mind. I always wanted to come back on the podcast. I really believe in this mission, and I think there's a lot of potential. So yeah, here we are, launching season 2, and the episode would be way too long if I tried to update you on my life, and that's not the point of the podcast anyways, but I can update you on the games that I've been playing. So if you were there in season 1, you would have known, you might remember, it's been a long time, that I was on this hunt for good couch co-op games. As a kid growing up and watching people game, and the gaming that I was kind of like yearning to be a part of, the community that I was kind of yearning to be a part of was co-op games, because I'm born in the 90s, I'm born in the 1900s. And so gaming was quite like still new when I was a kid. And so it was mainly couch co-ops. It was mainly like a bunch of us sitting in front of a TV with controllers and playing games together, or one after the other, but it was a community thing. And so, yeah, I was on this hunt for a lot of couch co-ops. So I did play a few. We talked about Unravel 2 last season, which is a great, comfy, cozy game. But I did play It Takes Two, which I really liked. I'm not sure if I'm going to make an episode on it, but one thing I will say about It Takes Two, I really love the game. And it's a couch co-op. Like I played it as a couch co-op, but I know many people who've played with people like online. Like you don't have to be next to each other to be able to play this game. I was playing the character of the wife in that video game because it's a couple. It's like a husband and wife that are like on the verge of divorce, and I hated her. I hated the little snarky comments she would make. I was playing the game and I loved the game. Again, I really has nothing to do on the game. If anything, the artists that made the game were successful because they made me feel strong emotions, because I ended up rooting for the divorce. I felt like I just hated the comments she was making. I felt like, yeah, like the husband was also making comments and stuff like that, but she was really upsetting me. And maybe it's just the trauma I have or the life I've lived that makes me more sensitive to the comments that she was making in that video game. But I was rooting for divorce. I did not want to be in a relationship with her. I didn't want any, I was just upset. So yeah, but again, It Takes Two, I strongly suggest it. Even if you play the wife character, like it's not your fault she's saying those lines. Those are scripted lines. And again, if you hate her or you feel strong emotions because of the comments that people make in that game, then that just means the artists did a good job by being able to make you feel these strong feelings. So going on that couch co-op journey, I did play Halo. Now, I don't think Halo is originally a couch co-op, at least not the versions we had. We had to do this thing. Obviously, it wasn't me. It was like it wasn't me dealing with this whole techie thing. But what we had to do is like download another program that would allow us to play Halo in split screen on our TV, because our computer was connected to the TV. So it was a little complicated to get that going, but I did end up playing Halo, and I ended up playing a lot of Halo. I played like Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 maybe. Like I played a few. Like I ended up doing that kind of like when you do when people rewatch Marvel movies and they're trying to decide if they're going in chronological order of release or chronological order of the story, you know? So we did Halo in, I think, chronological order of release, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think I might go dive deeper and do an episode on Halo, or maybe revisit Halo and then do an episode. We'll see. But I really did enjoy playing Halo. And then two other couch co-ops that I played. I played Cat Quest 3, and I think I started Cat Quest 2. I really enjoyed Cat Quest. It's a little cutesy, it's a little less serious. It's a dungeon crawler, so there's still fights and stuff like that, but it's a little fun. And I think because it was like less of a serious game and less like of intense like drama in the game and more like like a fun, casual dungeon crawler game, it allowed me to discover that I did like dungeon crawlers. Because I wasn't like overwhelmed by learning a game and having intensities and blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of just like in this, yes, I mean, I get overwhelmed easily, especially when I'm playing games and I'm getting attacked. But because it's like a cutesy, more casual game, I didn't get as overwhelmed, let's say, when I was getting attacked and stuff like that. And that allowed me to discover, that I liked dungeon crawlers. So I think that was super interesting because it brought this aspect in my mind of like, okay, if you're introducing someone to gaming, this could be interesting, of like going for the cutesier games that maybe you don't necessarily play, but that are more casual, that help your non-gamer discover different formats of games and help them figure out what they're interested in, and then introduce them to something like that you're more interested in that fits their desires, let's say. And then the last couch co-op that I'll talk about, that I absolutely loved. I want to play it again. I feel like I really like tapped into this part of me that, I don't know, I really enjoyed this game. It's called Nobody Saves the World. And the concept of it, the storyline of it is fun, and not like, you're not forced to read too much, but there is some reading and there is some story, but it's not like too much, because I feel like sometimes there's so much story that it just, especially for a non-gamer, it's kind of like killing the flow to be interrupted by story or lore. It's hard to describe, but anyways, Nobody Saves the World also, I think I will dive deeper in because I really loved it. And it's also a dungeon crawler. I think it fits that title. Yeah. Then if we're talking about more like computer, well, I mean, all of these games are games I played on my PC, but I did like touch back into like League of Legends and other, what are they called? Not RTS. I think they're called MOBA. Yeah. Other MOBAs. MOBAs are not necessarily my thing, and I will dive deeper on how I feel about MOBAs, and the three bigger, like Heroes of the Storms, League of Legends, and Dota 2 are the ones I know and that I've played. I will dive deeper into that someday. Don't feel like talking about that right now. It's not my expertise, and I have a lot of friends who play a lot of MOBAs that I think will be interesting to have them on and have their opinions on the subject instead of just having me talk about this, because MOBAs, they go deep and they're not my expertise. Well, none of this is, right? I played Stardew Valley, and I have a lot of opinions on Stardew Valley because so many people were convinced that I would love the game, and I don't know, I was surprised. I think it's fun and I want to give it another chance, so I'm not going to voice my opinion on Stardew Valley right now. And I did play Split Fiction. Now, Split Fiction is made by the same people who made It Takes Two, and I did not finish Split Fiction yet, so I'm not going to like fully give my opinion on it, but so far I love it. I love the concept of the story behind it. I think it's super creative, and yeah, I will finish the game and then dive deeper into my opinions on the game. Probably, maybe I'll make an episode about It Takes Two and Split Fiction together since they're made by the same creators. We'll see. TBD. Stay posted. Maybe subscribe. I don't know. And then if I'm going in games I've played more recently, I play Among Us regularly now, like once, even twice a week for like a few months. Yeah, I'm gonna do actually released. I think you might already see on the Getting Gamers like podcast page. We've already released an episode about Among Us on the same day as this episode was released. So go check that out because I really it's been fun for me to discover this like regularly playing with a group of people. Anyways. Then I have played with the same group that I play Among Us with. Whenever there's not enough people to play Among Us, we play either golf with your friends, which is a very casual game that I'm so bad at, but they are so patient with me. I love them. And if not, we play Prop Hunt, and that was fun because it's the first time that I suggest a game to a group, because I was getting clips online of people playing like Prop Hunt type games, and it looked interesting, and I thought that the group that I play Among Us with, that they would be a fun gang for that. So we recently like started playing once in a while some prop hunt, and that's really fun. And I'm also really bad at that game. Okay, so let's get into what to expect in season 2. My goals, my plans, my challenges. The original mission for Getting Gamers is to help people learn about the gaming world through me, a perpetual noob. So the background of that and the background challenges of that is that I'm handling it all alone, from episode planning to recording to editing and promoting. And there's no budget to hire anyone, right? And it requires a lot of discipline to do all of that. And I'll be honest that I'm not the great at disciplining myself when it comes to just me. Like when it's at work, it's easier for me, but when it's just me handling and I'm my own supervisor, I do struggle. I have a little neurodivergent brain and I struggle with this. So I think that's my main challenge. And I think a side challenge that comes with this podcast is the fact that I am trying to educate about something that I don't know anything about. And I think that that's the fun of this format, and that's why I wanted to continue with this, because I think it's fun and interesting to learn about something through the eyes of someone who's learning about it. And I think it makes this accessible to gamers and non-gamers alike, because I think a lot of the times I'm having these fun conversations with gamers, even though I can't necessarily keep up with the lingo, they're super open to explaining, and I think it's fun. Anyways, if you're already listening, I don't have to sell it to you. So this season, I want to focus more on recording solo episodes and sprinkling interesting interviews along the way. Now, I'm not closing the door on interviews. I love the interviews. The challenge that I was facing last season is I was focusing so much on interviews and having someone on the mic with me at every episode that it made scheduling really hard. And I couldn't just get up and decide to record an episode that day and like be productive on the podcast without having pre-scheduled with different people. And I was focusing so much on that aspect that I think it stunted my regularity, let's say. Because the main goal this season is consistency. I want to be consistent. Being consistent in your releases is what helps you get sponsors someday and what helps bring listeners coming back. And it's something I was struggling with last season a lot. So the solo episodes are going to help me be consistent, because while I'm waiting to schedule interviews and have people on the pod to explain things, I still need to be able to record and release. And there's plenty of subjects that I can address on my own, because the whole point, right, is to learn through the eyes of someone who doesn't know that world. So I'm allowing myself that grace of understanding that I have to respect the premise of this podcast, and that means that there's not always going to be a gamer there to help us understand. And that's okay. So in these solo episodes, I want to explore different formats. So I hinted earlier to the fact that I want to dive deeper into certain games in certain episodes. So like you can see, there's an episode released called Among Us, and it's just my opinions as a perpetual noob, my view on what it was like to learn Among Us, and if I think that it's good for beginners or not, stuff like that. I really think that can be fun episodes. It helps gamers and non-gamers, because it helps you understand like my view on what it's like to be introduced to this game as a non-gamer. Then I also want to explore doing segments where we try to answer questions and give advice to gamers and non-gamers that are living together. So whether it be like parents and children, or romantic relationships, or just roommates, I would love it if you have like issues or things that are bothering you and you don't know how to address them, etc. There's a place on the website. If you go on gettinggamers.com, there is a tab where you can write down your questions or the advice that you want, or just like rant about the issue that you have, and I would love to then address those on the podcast and maybe help you figure out how to communicate better on that or answer certain questions. I think it could be a really fun format. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for people to ask for advice or ask questions, I thought that one thing I listen to a lot, like podcast-ish, is people reading Reddit posts and giving their opinions on the Reddit post. So I'm going to go fishing for some like relationship advice or other like subreddits that ask questions about like gaming in the relationship and try to address those in the podcast, and then hopefully eventually have some people write in and address those. And I think it could be interesting. If I figure out, maybe someday, I would really love it if people could call in. That would be really great for me. I think that could be really, really fun, having like people call in with their questions or tribulations. But we'll see, right? That's like future goals. I'm just being transparent. Right now, we're going to start with Reddit posts, and then eventually sometime soon have people write in. It would be great. I mentioned earlier that the main goal for season 2 is consistency. I want to be consistent in my episode releases. So what does that mean for us at Getting Gamers? That means that for now, I'm going to focus on releasing every 2 weeks. Now I know that's not everybody's favorite. People prefer weekly releases, and that is the goal in the future. The reason I want to focus on starting with releasing every 2 weeks is that from early spring to end of the fall, I am a landscaper, which means like during 3 seasons of the year, I am fully booked. I'm working with the company I'm working with. I'm doing contracts on my own on weekends. I'm passionate about my work. My partner is also a landscaper. So we're just very active in the summer. And I'm worried that I won't be able to maintain weekly releases right away. So I'm going to start with every 2 weeks, build myself like a backup, build myself a routine, and then hopefully we can get to a place where we have weekly releases. Okay, so I talked a lot about how the solo episodes are going to help with the goal of having consistent releases every 2 weeks. I want to make sure that you understand that the interviews are here to stay. We're not getting rid of interviews. I have talked to a few people about interviews that I'm planning, and I'm really excited for them. So, some of the topics that are coming up, last season we did a few interviews, I think, about competing in different games. I want to continue exploring what it's like to compete in different games, because I think the community changes with the games. And there's more to be understood about how one person can have a career in gaming and how gaming is not necessarily a dead end for everyone. So I want to continue exploring those interviews. I also have a new friend who collects vintage gaming consoles, and I think that is going to be a super interesting interview. And I know someone who has created a board game, works in game developing and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be a super interesting interview too. So stay tuned. There's so much to come, and the interviews are here to stay. I know a lot of people liked the interviews last season. So yeah, they're here to stay. Do not fret. Now, I know having an episode every 2 weeks is not everybody's favorite. And I know that you need your fix of Getting Gamers. It's been 4 years. You've been starved. I apologize. So this is what I'm going to do. Last season, when we launched, the premiere of season 1 was a 3-episode release. I'm bringing that back this season. As you can see, if you're listening to this, you might have seen we released 3 episodes for season 2. And I know that's not enough. I am a merciful host. 3 episodes will just make you want more. So for the next 2 weeks, you will get a weekly episode just to get your fix, help us heal from this time apart. And after that, we will go on the every 2 week releases. So right now you got 3 episodes. Next week you get an episode. The week after that you get an episode. And then we're starting on every 2 weeks. So I think like that, we can all just breathe and we'll get through this. I know you'll miss me, but it's just an extra week wait. For now, for the next 2 weeks, you can tune back in on Tuesdays, and I will post on our social medias. So on Instagram, it's getting_gamers, but on all other social media, it should just be at Getting Gamers. They will be linked in the episode description, of course. And otherwise, just keep in mind that on Tuesdays, you can come check if there's a new episode. Moving on real quickly to the fact that I have referred to myself a few times, I think, as a perpetual noob. So I just wanted to explain really quickly what I mean when I say that I am a perpetual noob. Have you ever heard someone say, I play some games, but I'm not a gamer? So it's like the term gamer has grown to imply playing with a certain level of seriousness. But many people disagree. Some think if you play games semi-regularly-ish, then you're a gamer. And I'm kind of on both sides of that coin. I like the idea that like my dad, who got really into Ticket to Ride, the board game when I showed it to him, is a gamer. Or that my stepmom, who plays Minesweeper, is a gamer because that's a like computer game, right? But also I don't consider myself a gamer because I know so many like actual gamers. But I do play regularly, like quite often now. So I'm not a gamer, but I'm also not a gamer. And that really gets confusing. One thing that I'm certain of is that I'm a perpetual noob, a forever noob. Now, I'm not saying that pejoratively. I'm a noob by choice. Now, I know that is going to frustrate some people to hear that, so let me explain. Just hear me out. There's many reasons, but in general, I just want to have fun. I had a grandma who taught us to have fun being bad at things, to find the joy in not being good at everything. And although like I struggle with implementing that in so many spheres of my life, in games, that's absolutely true for me. I play games to have fun, and I don't need to be good to have fun. And don't get me wrong, winning certainly adds to the fun, but losing doesn't subtract from the fun. Now, aside from that, I don't have the intention of getting good at most games, because I have so many hobbies and projects that I don't take the time to do, this podcast being a great example of that. So there just isn't extra time for me to allocate to grinding and developing my skills on a game when I'm like already wishing I did put more energy onto my hobbies and projects. So at most, my version of getting good is if there's a game that I want to play more regularly with friends, and I don't want to be so bad that I'm a burden to them. Like I want them to want to play with me. So I work a little bit more on learning the game, but that's like my maximum effort is not being a burden. And my lack of desire to get good is like further supported by the fact that a lot of the downsides of being bad at a game don't really bother me. So for example, I play a lot of Among Us. When you die earlier in Among Us, you're just a ghost. You still get to play the game, but now you're a ghost. You can float through walls and do stuff like that. For me, that's better. Like you have no idea how often I get stuck like in like door frames and stuff like that, or like I hit a wall and I'm not great at navigating in a game. So being a ghost in the game and being able to do my tasks as a ghost, is just like an advantage for me. I can float through the walls. I don't have to worry, and it doesn't like bother me. But also stuff like dying more often in other games, they often come with a cooldown while you wait for your character to revive, to resurrect. So for me and my little neurodivergent brain, having those like breaks during the game, it kind of works. Like maybe I just take a breather, maybe I check my phone, I go grab a bottle of water. The fact that it breaks the game and gives me breathers, especially like when you die, it's because someone like attacked you or something, like something dramatic happened and you died in the game, right? So for me, having that breather, it's not necessarily like, yes, sometimes it's annoying and I get frustrated, of course, but often I think it just kind of helps me not get fed up with the game because I get little breathers and breaks from the drama here and there. And the cooldowns aren't like that long most of the time. So yeah, it kind of just fits my brain. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like the feeling of getting better at something. For example, I'll come back to Among Us again because it's the game I've been playing the most. I put in my minimal effort of not being a burden to my team because I know many people play to win and they're not like me. Their fun is winning, right? And along the way, like watching people play, I picked up on some strategies, right? You pick up on like, oh, okay, this person does this like that, and you know, semi-subconsciously, semi-consciously, let's say, I like absorbed these like little tricks that people did, and I got better at the game. And someone in the group noticed and like vocalized the fact that they noticed that I had improved at the game in a way that like impressed them, and that felt really good. So I'm not going to pretend that it didn't feel good to improve and be noticed, you know? But you know what? In full honesty, after he noticed me, I played like shit that night. I played so bad that night. It's ridiculous. They were like they went on and on for hours after about how the group made so many bad decisions, and I was part of that group. I like lost my touch, let's say. And that's not the first time it happened to me. So like chances are if ever I did want to get good at a game, I would get in my own way. For example, like I used to play a lot of Hearthstone. And I got good enough to make my own decks, which to me, that took forever. Honestly, maybe it took like over a year for me to start making my own decks in Hearthstone. And I wasn't making these super big strategy decks. I was making decks that would make the guys that I was playing with laugh or roll their eyes. I would call them Trololo decks. And it was either that. It was to make them laugh or it was to make them roll their eyes because they were like annoyed at the mechanic I chose, you know? And then I played the friendly tournament, which I think we did an episode about. And the first week, I played really good and the guys were so impressed. And yeah, of course, I started daydreaming about like the respect I would get if I placed in the top 3 in the tournament. And it was just a friendly little tournament between friends. And you know what? That second week of that tournament, I played like shit. So yeah, it's like a pattern for me. If I start caring, I get in my own way. Somehow I get too much in my head. It's happened in jobs too. I remember getting a promotion. I used to work in sales. I got a promotion. And the day that I got that promotion, the next day, I was not able to sell a single thing. I was so in my head. And my bosses like reassured me and told me like this happens every time someone gets promoted. It's so normal. But still, it's a thing I've noticed that is an issue with me. Whereas I think some other people that I know, they start caring and it motivates them and they can kind of like power through the anxiety and you know just improve. It's just not my thing. Like in that Hearthstone tournament, I played better knowing that I was in the tournament to be the certified last place than when I thought I actually had a chance, which is weird, but so far is how my brain works. Sometimes I don't even need to like the game to have fun. Stardew Valley was an example of that. I wasn't particularly enjoying Stardew Valley, and like I said, I will give it another chance because I know a lot of people love that game. But I was having fun when I was playing because I was playing with my boyfriend and we were in the same room and I was bitching the whole time in a funny way and we were laughing. And my fun was to play. I did play, but I was bitching the whole time and it was okay. It wasn't like annoying. I was like complaining but in a funny way, and it was like a humoristic thing, and that's the fun I was having. I didn't particularly enjoy playing the game, and I don't think I wanted to play alone because then there's no one to laugh when I'm complaining about silly things. Now, if you're going to be a perpetual noob like me, then you have to accept that your friends will also be realistic about that. So when we're playing and they have to choose which teammate to save and which one has to let die, it's a no-brainer. Let me die. Like, don't like let someone die that has actual skill and save me. Even I would get frustrated and be like, yo, come on. Let the person with skill play. I don't mind, you know? You have to be realistic about that stuff. Sometimes you might be used as bait. And honestly, like, I don't mind. Especially if someone tells me, like, okay, we'll use you as bait. Then yeah, like, I'll just, like, you know, have my panic when I get, like, swarmed by bad guys and scream and then laugh about how I screamed that because I was surprised of the swarm. You know, it's just fun. But you have to, like, be realistic about the fact that you're a forever noob to have that fun. Because if you're expecting your friends to prioritize you in game, but you're choosing to be a noob, that's not going to work. If you're annoyed because you're not the priority in a game, but you're choosing to be a forever noob, the problem is you. I don't know how else to say it. Choosing to be a forever noob comes with being realistic about the fact that, like, you can't just expect everyone to treat you like you're, like, the most important player when you're not. And finally, I'm going to be honest about the fact that being accepted as a noob is kind of nice. Now, listen to my words. I said being accepted as a noob. That's a specific phrasing, and I mean it because being accepted as a noob is fun because people are accepting you, right? So they're being more patient with you when you don't know the game. They're being helpful. They're giving you tips and tricks. I know that being a noob in a place where you're not being accepted as a noob and people are just annoyed that you're a noob, that is not fun. And that's not something you have to, you know, continue doing. If you're around people who are annoyed that you're not good at something, just leave. They're not going to help you improve if they're being mad about it. But being accepted as a noob is fun. And I'm not going to say that I choose the noob life to force people to be nice to me. That's not it. But I'm not going to pretend that it's not fun that people are nice and helpful and patient. It's pleasant. So as you can see, I have many reasons to choose to be a forever noob. I just want to have fun, and it fits my little neurodivergent brain. And yeah, it's working for me. And anyways, it kind of works out for the premise of this podcast. So I'd be super curious to know if there is any other like self-proclaimed forever perpetual noobs out there. And do you consider yourself a gamer? Like, do you play regularly even though you have no intentions on getting any better? And do you consider yourself a gamer, or do you consider yourself a forever noob? Anyways, you can always write in. We have our social media. We have our emails, gettinggamers@gmail.com. We have our website, gettinggamers.com. Go check out the website. We're building a glossary that we update every time we learn a new word on the episode. And I guess that's it for the first episode of season 2. Thank you so much for joining me back in this wild adventure. And make sure to like and subscribe, and rating and reviewing, I think, is really great for podcasts, depending on the platform you're on. But just like rating, giving a 5-star or a thumbs up is so helpful all the time. But sharing is always the number one thing that I will... Subscribing and sharing, I think, are my top. There's 2 more episodes released today for you to go peruse throughout the week. And I will see y'all next Tuesday. GG! Our podcast art was made by the wonderful Ariel, who can be found on Instagram @ProfitOpossum, and our intro and outro music was made by David Feslian from FeslianStudios.com.
Job's done.